I'm Kevin Davis, and this is the Catholic Family Podcast, and I'm very happy to be joined by Father Jeremy Saunders. Anyone who's familiar with the show knows Father has been on quite a few occasions, a friend of the show. We always enjoy having him on and getting his advice for different topics, and we've also had him on to tell his story a little bit. But today we're going to ask him to tell a little bit more, maybe go a little more in depth about what's going on with him, with his church up in Canada, and some pretty exciting news. So Father, we're going to jump right into it. What's happening up in Canada?
Well, lots going on. Thanks for inviting me to come back on. Really appreciate it. And yeah, Canada's been, we're making a few podcasts recently. Usually Canada's kind of in the back burner for people, but recently there's a lot going on up here traditionally. It's been a very good, very exciting time. Some difficult years recently, etc. So, um, right now things are really burgeoning. For a lot of years up here, it was one priest called it spiritual Siberia. It was a bit rough. The parish I grew up in, we had mass once a month. The parish here in London, you're talking 20, 30 people for decades, and they persevered through, and a lot of perseverance. And then growth really started, I'd say, maybe 10 years ago, and then really took off during COVID. Just, people were thinking what's going on in the world, et cetera, et cetera. And it just burgeoned, as the bishop was mentioning, we've probably doubled or tripled in size. I'd say we doubled for sure since I've been here, and I've been here 4 years myself, and it's pretty amazing to see. And then, yeah, lots of interest, lots of growth, lots of young families, and then the missions are starting up too. So I've recently been invited to Quebec. So tomorrow, I'm after my two masses in London, I fly to Quebec, drive to Toronto, then fly to Quebec, and that's an interesting experience. We'll be going up there every 6 weeks, and lots going on. Yeah, got to learn French.
Okay. I was wondering about that. So Father, for those who don't know Canada, which is 99% of the world,
Yeah.
where is London in Canada?
Where is London? So if you're from Minnesota, we live south of you. Not directly south, but believe it or not, we're south of Minnesotans. They always go, what? South of the United States. So if you can picture North America, and for the Americans, that map where the world ends above the United States, where you fall off the edge. If you can picture over by Detroit, most people in the Detroit area, the Great Lakes, there's kind of a V that comes down between the Great Lakes. We have Lake Ontario, Lake Huron, and you got that V down in there. So Ontario is right there. That's southern Ontario. And that's where London is. So we're actually about an hour and a half from the southernmost tip, 2 hours from the southernmost tip of Canada, which is right down by Detroit. So we're a couple hours from Detroit. So that's our area down there. So we're fairly far south compared to the rest of Canada. Like I said, we'd be probably about parallel with Chicago as far as latitude goes. And then we're sort of central eastern as far as Canada goes, straight above Ohio and that area there. So that's Ontario right there. So London. So we've been serviced a long time by the American priests. For a long time, we're the American priests up here. I'm one of the few Canadians. And yeah, so geographically, that's kind of where we sit.
So the priest would come up from Detroit. Is that right, Father? They drive over from Detroit.
Depending on the time, they would drive from Detroit or maybe Grand Rapids, Michigan. For a long time, this parish was paired with Grand Rapids, Middleville, Michigan, where Father Applehands is there now. I think you've had him on before.
Yep.
So the priest would do, for many years, they would have, I think it was 7 a.m. mass in one parish and then 3 p.m. in the other. And then they would do that half the year and then switch. One year, when we get midnight mass, next one we get midnight mass. But they've been serviced really here from all over the years. And it's been really amazing to see. They had a priest flying in from Omaha for a while. He'd fly into Detroit and then drive up to Ontario. They've had priests fly in from Idaho. So really a lot of different places. But it's always been kind of connected with Detroit. That's been a bit of a stable anchor for it.
Well, it's pretty interesting. We did an interview that's not yet been published with a sister who is from Canada, from the same parish, I believe, and she had some really interesting stories. I'm really excited to publish it in the coming months. It's part of another project that we're working on, but it's a really interesting story. A lot of stories of priests who there was this one priest.
Father Normandin.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Father Vis Normandin.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Incredible what he did. I mean, his sister showed me his schedule and like where he'd be. And he would literally take, I think, like the Greyhound bus or the planes and just fly and drive across Canada and then just back and forth and back and forth
as the time zones go. Crazy. Yeah, geography is a major part of mission work up here, and it's hard to grasp even for Americans, but especially for Europeans. Someone was telling me recently they had a European come to visit, and they said, "Oh, so what are you going to do when you're here?" So, well, we're thinking tomorrow we might go see Prince Edward Island, where Anne of Green Gables is from, and then we're hoping to make it out to Calgary. And the person said, well, Prince Edward Island is a 2-day drive one direction, and Calgary is a 3-day drive the other. So you're going to have to plan a little more time, so that the space, compared to our population, the space is so vast that it can be a real challenge. We have 1/10 of the population of the United States and a larger landmass. So that's a real part. And yeah, Father Norman, he really laid the foundation for tradition across the entire country. Talk to any traditional priest who's up here, and they know who Father Norman was. He passed away just last year, actually.
Wow.
And,
yeah. It's incredible to see, and it's incredible how one man, one really zealous person can keep things going. And it's something we see, I guess over the world, but his story is remarkable. Really stay tuned when I talk more about Father Norman and with one of the sisters, because it's really remarkably fascinating.
Yeah.
And so, Father, so you said it started about 10 years ago to grow a little bit. Was there a reason for that, or just kind of how things go?
I think one of the things was they had a permanent priest here, a resident priest, and that always it contributes to growth in the parish, because then you have stable masses, and once you get a regular Sunday mass time, that really helps. If you're switching mass times afternoons, you only get the really zealous people coming when you do that. And so I think that having a resident priest be there, I would say in general, I think things have been steadily picking up all over the world as far as tradition goes, because of just the condition of the world, etc. So that's kind of where that steady growth started, I would say. But then it really picked up over COVID.
And so why do you think that was? And I know we don't want to get too political into it, but what happened that made so many people join, do you think?
I think that the local diocese here closed their doors before they had to. So in Canada, we had really strict COVID restrictions. At the start, nobody knew what was going on, etc. But a lot of people had the experience of the diocese essentially abandoning them, is what they felt like. And so they started kind of looking, and we were doing everything we could. I was saying sometimes 4 masses on a Sunday, traveling, 2 masses on Saturday. We were doing whatever we could to make things work, to figure things out and provide the sacraments. And that's something that I learned from the older priests at the CMRI. They will all go above and beyond to make sure people have the sacraments. And we learned that spirit there at the seminary. I'm very grateful for that example. And if people see that the priority is the salvation of souls, that really makes a big difference. That coupled with just to me, it seems everything increased in speed over COVID, just the speed of social change on the whole. And, things are rapidly changing on the social level here. And so people are just looking at stuff going, what is going on? And then you couple that with home, and you put people at home and give them internet and take away their job, and they have time to do a little more research and kind of start looking into things. So I think all those things played together, and just the consequence of the times too. All those things definitely played into it for sure.
But it's interesting then that people joined. I guess that that makes a lot of sense. But people then have stayed. I mean, because obviously a lot of these restrictions and things have ended, but people are still there.
Yeah. So we had a large group of people come from one of the local Novus Ordo churches here, and they started coming because we were still having mass, and they weren't able to get to mass or the services where they were before. But then I had sat them down and said, look, there's more to the picture here. This isn't just about restrictions or masks or whatever. And we had a lot of different rules. They were changing so fast. One day it changed in 5 days, the restrictions for churches. So, but it was, I had to sit down with them and say, look, there's more to this picture. This is about the faith, not about whatever restrictions or what you like or enjoy or your personal preferences. Whether you like receiving communion on the tongue, that was a big one, because the diocese wouldn't give communion on the tongue to anybody, including at the indult mass locally. And so that was one that some people in the Novus Ordo said, no, wait, I'm not receiving communion in the hand. And so I had to tell them, look, that's wonderful, but this is about more than that. There's bigger questions here. And thankfully that pretty much everybody who came stayed. Wow. They never, even once things open back to normal, we have no more restrictions left here anymore, except a few ones in hospitals maybe and stuff. They've stayed. So I think they saw that difference. And I find that once people see the contrast and they start coming for a little bit to the true mass, and they're so happy. They're just so happy. And some of them will repeat to me, we're so happy we came. We're so happy we found you. And they don't. And then even if they try going back, they can't stomach it anymore once they see that contrast. And they just, they have, once you see the truth, and to go back to all the lies there, it's just like, oh. revolting for them.
Well, it's a credit to you, Father. It's a credit to the people who stuck it through for so many years and the priests who came before you. But it's a credit, as you say, to these people who keep coming back, and it's a credit to the truth, right? I mean, it's that is a beautiful thing, and it makes you really wonder. It's like how do you get people to literally just come and try, just come and see it? I mean,
Yeah.
because I think that's a big issue. I think if people realize, hey, we're not the crazies, we're not
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
nuts, we're not these nuts, standing around a campfire doing crazy songs and stuff, which I think that's what they're told.
Yeah.
Look at what
Absolutely. Yeah.
happens. People come and they stay because they see the true faith.
Yeah. I was talking to a woman just a couple days ago, a day or two ago, who's a long time in the Society of Pius X. And she said, "We thought you were a bunch of yahoos, we thought you're just all off the deep end. That's the impression we had of you." And then a friend of hers had come and said, "Hey, this is wonderful." So yeah, just to have, but I think that the example of Catholics is very important in that regard. The example of your lay people, that people know someone, that they trust or that they see is living a good life and is normal. That will hopefully draw people in. Because that's
100%.
the main exposure that anybody's going to have to Catholicism is through practicing Catholics.
Well, and we've seen that, right, Father? We've seen it throughout I've seen it. I've traveled all over the place in my crazy life, and I'm here in Germany, and I see it here, and you see it slowly grow. It's slow, but
Yeah,
it's a process. It started out as being one family practically, or two families, and now it's 10 families, and it's a process it's not as quick as I'm sure many priests would like, but
yeah,
it's growth. And one of these things that I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen too, Father, is how exponentially things start to grow once you start to get a school and
yeah.
nuns, and so you get these
Hmm.
nuns, you get the school, and you get this. And you see in one generation, you have more priests, and then you have more nuns, and then you have, I mean, it just grows and grows and grows and grows. And that's the news we want to talk about today, Father.
Yes. So we were very happy. The bishop let us know that we will be getting 2 sisters coming to be stationed here. The CMD, the Congregation of Mother of God out of Idaho, who you were mentioning you did an interview with some of the sisters from there. I know you've had some of them on before. So we're very, very excited. The families here are over the top. We have a lot of young families, I haven't run the numbers lately, but in a parish of 140 people, we're probably talking 50, 60 children, 16 and under.
Wow. Wow.
So, a couple years ago, I was joking that we were just going to give all the parents earmuffs and not worry about a cry room. We'll put the parents, the older people in the back, and the kids can have the church. But no, the families do a very good job with their children, but a lot of young families.
Sure.
And a lot of teenagers as well. Now, we don't have there's kind of a demographic gap where we have a lot of 16 and under, but between that and their parents, there's not many. So especially when you hit those teenage years, we want to be able to provide a community, et cetera, for them. So we've been kind of pushing for a school. We did what you might call a bit of a pilot project this year, 2 days a week. We're running a school for grade 7 and up, and it's been a big success. The parents have been apparently very happy with it, from what they tell me, and it's going well. So we're really looking forward. With the sisters coming, we're going to be expanding that, going grades 1 through 12.
Wow.
And we got the news in January, kind of formally, that we got the for sure that the nuns will be coming. So now the balls are rolling, and we're trying to get everything organized because there's a lot of details. Because we've got, the day I announced last Sunday publicly that we would be, we knew the head sisters coming, but I made kind of the big announcement last Sunday, and I had a family within 8 hours from that lives 2 hours away tell me we're moving.
Huh.
Tell us as soon as you got this sorted out, and we're moving.
Wow.
I was like, whoa, and so we've had a couple of families say they want to move. So at the moment, we're looking at probably about 28 students to start off our school. And then I expect, fairly rapid growth. So it's actually so much so that the sisters that we're getting 2 sisters coming, we're going to need to have other teachers besides, because they won't even be able to handle the amount of students we got coming.
Wow.
So, and then interestingly, so that was January. Back in December, one of the young moms here had sent me a text saying, "Hey, Father, check out this building," because we're always talking. Everyone always wants to buy nice buildings, and it was this little schoolhouse outside of town, old schoolhouse. And I said, "Oh, wouldn't that be nice?" And then a month later, we get told we had getting sisters. I thought, we should look back at that, because we have a situation here. We're very grateful. We own the building here is owned, paid for. We have a small church in London, kind of on the, not the rich end of town, you could say. But we're a bit cramped in the sense that we don't own our own parking lot. We have no outside space, nowhere for kids to play. So it's very beautiful. We're very grateful to have it. It works well for Sunday masses, but we can't really do much else. We couldn't run a grade school here. It's not the part of town. We don't have a playground, etc. So we've been thinking, okay, we need something outside of town. So now that's what we're shooting for. I started this interview just a little bit late because I was talking to a real estate agent. He called me just as we were supposed to begin. So we're moving towards that. We've put an offer in on the property. We got a lot of details to work out, zoning, etc. But we're hoping everything goes through there. And yeah, that's actually what got you. The word got around that we're trying to raise money for this property, and you said, "Hey, Father, you want to come and talk about Canada?" So I'm very grateful for that. It's just incredible how fast it's moving. Oftentimes with Providence, you're praying, "God, please send us this," and I'm kind of praying, "Let me keep up to what you're sending."
Right.
I'm trying to keep up to what God.
You need a secretary, Father. Huh? Yeah, right. That's
yeah. If you could see my desk, yeah, it would be.
I
It would be
believe
handy.
it.
But
Well,
I wouldn't want to be my secretary.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be mine either, Father. I understand. I am my own secretary, and I hate it. So
Yeah.
I would feel bad for anybody else who had to do it. But no, Father, it's great. I mean, I saw it on Facebook, I think, and it's a Give, Send, Go, I believe. Of course I'll attach the link to this podcast, and it's like GoFundMe, but with a platform that's not going to do anything nasty like GoFundMe has done.
Yeah, and they also, interestingly, they don't take a commission. You can actually they automatically insert one when you do your donation, but as the donor, you can choose whether that's $0 or $7 or whatever. So they will actually collect commission free, which is what I found kind of interesting. So when I compared the platforms, I thought, hey, this one will work. It looks good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a beautiful place. I was checking it out yesterday whenever I texted you, and it looks great. I mean, it looks like a perfect place to have a school. And so Father, that would not be anything to do with the church. That would just be the school. The church would still be separate.
That's right. Yeah. So that would be a convent and the school.
Got it. Okay.
And then it would also provide us with a place. It's about just over an acre. So it would provide us with a place as well to have our parish picnics, etc. Because we can't have any big events where we are here. If we have the whole parish, we don't even fit in our church hall in the basement, So that would provide us perhaps a location for things like that too. And who knows what the full future holds. The property, one of the things that attracted us is it is zoned institutional. Although like I said, we have to get a bit of an amendment done. So there's still some things up in the air. But it looks like, for the future, it's kind of funny because we've been talking about a church. People say now and then, "Oh, do we need a bigger church?" And I said, "Look, we got to fill 3 masses, and then we can ask the bishop about that." But it's been on the mind for a few years that eventually we're going to have to. And people ask me, "Well, what would you look for?" I said, "Well, it'd have to be within 20 minutes of our current church to the east or south, just because of the geography." So basically, we're on the east end of town. We go a little into the country. This place is southeast, and it's 14 minutes from the church.
Cool.
And so it fits the bill exactly.
There you go. Okay. So, wow. That's and again, it shows you how God works, right? I mean, when you, and I guess when you have, sometimes you have a windfall. I don't know if windfall is the correct word, but when you get lemons, make some lemonade from it, I suppose, right?
Yeah. And you can see, I really think it's a blessing too for the perseverance for all those people all those years, because I'm going to be giving the sermon sometime soon, just to say to all the people who have come in the last 2 years, hey, look, this is what it took to build this place. Just so you know, this is what the priests did. This is what the laity were doing for all these years to try to make this happen. And I think that perseverance through difficult times, God's blessing that. He sees that the perseverance of the parents, oftentimes raising their kids under very difficult circumstances, as far as trying to keep them Catholic, trying to give them a Catholic environment, protect them from bad influences, etc. And it really inspires me to see the tremendous effort that the parents put in to do that. And I think that God's going to bless that effort. We see that. So
well, and now you get the chance again to have a Catholic school, to have nuns, and as someone again who was in a Catholic school in my high school in formative years, it really was life changing. I mean, because before I went to Omaha, I had maybe seen nuns a few times, but not really. And I was traditional Catholic from birth, and we had a great priest, but just never had sisters. But it really changes things. I mean, kids around sisters it's a very different experience. They automatically really love them, and I don't know what's the right word. I don't want to say venerate, but very, there's just this awe. They're awestruck by nuns, and I think there's something that children just immediately have this awe that changes how they think. Even it's hard to describe.
Yeah, absolutely. I was joking with Father Troff at the time, and Reverend Mother had come to visit the parish. I was down in Michigan, and the kids were all, gathered around her, etc. And he leaned over to the father and said, "Do you think if we put a habit on a mannequin, they would all just, gather around? Well, this is something special." And everybody loves the nuns.
Right.
Everybody loves the sisters. And one man expressed it well. I think he said, they bring an element to the parish that's missing. They kind of complete the picture there because they fill a lot of roles that a priest just cannot fill, or just he's in a different position. The sisters are they're very much. They fill a real spot there that's missing when they're not there. You really, really notice. It kind of completes it, helps to bring that community life, and it helps with the kids. When I first got here, I used to do catechism with the kids after Sunday Mass. We just get all the kids together and do some catechism. But now, we got 2 masses and they're full, and I'm off to missions, and it's very difficult to get catechism in. Even if you do, then half the kids are at the first Mass. And so just really, really, from a spiritual perspective, incredibly excited to have the sisters coming too, just to help out with all that. But yeah, the families are just over the top to have the nuns coming. I was thinking, I wonder if they get this excited about priests. I don't think so. Why is Father not here? It depends on the priest. Yeah,
I can ask. I know some people in Canada. Maybe I'll ask him next time I talk to them.
Well, they're going to have to say yes because I know them.
Feel
too.
About Father Saunders?
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe not publicly, but
publicly. Yeah.
But no, it's something that I really want to push the fundraiser, Father, because I know people probably think, okay, it's in Canada. I understand. Good for them. That's really nice. Cool story. That's nice. We hope they get it. And I understand that not everyone money doesn't grow on trees, of course. But I think what I would highly recommend, if I can, is, hey, give $10. I mean, give $10, give $20, give $100. And remember that we're all Catholics. We're all part of this one body. And remember also how impactful someone from that school might become. I mean, you don't know. I mean, if this Catholic school happens, as it sounds like it will, so if you have a good environment and it can continue for years, you have more likelihood that a saint comes from there, or future priests at least, or nuns, or hey, just good Catholics. And that's something that we can contribute to. And it doesn't matter if that's in Africa, which we can support too, in Nigeria, which I hope people do as well, in America, and now in Canada. If these opportunities open up, give a little, give what you can.
Yeah. Anything goes a long way. And keep in mind too, if you go on the fundraiser site there, that's in Canadian dollars. So that's like 70 cents US or something, 75 cents US right now. Our dollar's lower. Our dollar's lower than yours. Yeah. Than the American
your dollar's lower. Okay.
Our dollar's lower. So the American dollar is going to go farther in Canada. Yeah. So you're looking at Canadian dollars. I had to emphasize that with the priests when I asked for permission. Like, remember, these numbers are in Canadian dollars. But, I can say for sure, talking about the internationality of the church, that's one thing I find fascinating. And we've had, thankfully, catechumens recently, people studying for baptism. Quite interesting, actually. People coming from atheist or agnostic backgrounds and becoming straight to traditional Catholicism. No Protestantism, no nothing. Just, And in explaining the universality of the church, I can say, look, I was ordained by a Mexican bishop, who was ordained by an American bishop, or consecrated by a Mexican, consecrated by a Vietnamese, consecrated by a European, and then the lineage goes to Iraq and the Patriarch of Baghdad. So interestingly enough, that would be an interesting show if you ever got the chance, because we have the lineage quite far back.
Wow.
And it's universal church, and like you say, you're interviewing Sister there, and she's been in the U.S. for 20 years or something, and you think about the impact she's had on all the students. So it is there's a lot of advantage, and like you said, vocations. That's one thing that really, another reason we're really looking forward to having the sisters, because it's being with the clergy and the religious that primarily fosters vocations amongst young men and women. So that's a really big advantage as well.
Absolutely, Father, and I think it's a cool idea to be able to be just part of that, just a little part of that. I mean, it's not like it's something you're gonna, but I mean, but you can almost get a reward for it. That's the nice thing about this. If you give $20 or $100 or $500 or $1,000, whatever you give, and then you can see this school, and you wait 20 years, and you just don't. I mean, hey, here's a Canadian nun, maybe teaching your kids or grandkids. I mean, that's really how this stuff works, and I've seen it. I know you've seen it, Father, and that's really, it's such a tight community, but it's also growing and growing and growing. And as it grows, it's going to get exponential, and it's going to be more and more of these schools are going to open, and you're going to have more sisters, and thus more schools, and that, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. And it's extremely exciting.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And, we're just so excited to have that kind of that finished nucleus. When I got here, one of the things I pushed for was to open missions. And one of the reasons I did that is something the Maryknoll Fathers actually in the United States did. The United States was still relatively new Catholic country, but the Maryknoll Fathers said, hey, if we send missionaries from the United States to, at the time it was primarily China, we're going to foster the faith within the U.S. Because in supporting these missionaries, it's going to help to foster the faith here. And that was one of the reasons I pushed for missions here. I wanted to show this parish, okay, we've been a mission for 20, 30 years, whatever.
Right.
Not anymore. We have the stability of the parish. Now you're sending the priest out to other missions.
Right.
And then you get that stable center. And it really, and one thing interestingly, one reason I've heard some people perhaps stay at the SSPX or hesitate is because their kids are in a school somewhere. And they don't want to leave that community. And so that school really helps to build the nucleus. You see that places like Omaha or Spokane or anywhere as a school, it helps to build that real nucleus. And yeah, from there, it just spreads, and that's how we saw things function throughout history. You get a mission, then you get a priest, and et cetera, et cetera. And you can already see the potential. I have one mission here in Toronto, and then, like I said, 2 in Quebec now. So see, and be preaching in French for the first time this Sunday.
All right.
So,
okay.
see how that goes.
All right. That's interesting. Yeah, that's a whole new ball game then, huh, Father? All right.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear it. I wouldn't understand any of it, but
well,
no,
hopefully, I don't know if the people will either, but
maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. But I'm just
thanks.
Kidding, I'm just kidding, Father. I'm just kidding. We love your sermon. No, it's great, and it's interesting. I've had several people who have been on this show who recently moved to Cincinnati to be near Bishop McGuire, and moved their families from far, kind of far and wide from all over the place to join, a school that now has a new foundation of sisters as well, which I also hope to talk about here in the coming weeks.
Oh wow, interesting.
New congregation or oblates.
Oh yes.
So that's also exciting. That again, you really see it, and you can almost feel it. You can feel it. I mean, I guess for me, I still live in a pretty small parish, but I go online a lot. I'm on Twitter quite a lot among Catholics, and I feel like it's every day I see new people saying, "Hey, I understand now. I get it. I get it. I see the truth now." It seems like it's every day, and that's so cool.
Yeah, it's a totally different ball game than even 10 years ago for sure. When we had Benedict in, and there was the facade of conservatism in the U.S. in the Novus Ordo, it was a little harder. People looked at it like he had two heads if he said that he wasn't the Pope. With Francis, now you say, well, we don't think he's the Pope. And people go, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, probably. I agree with you. It's just so blatantly obvious that it cannot be ignored. In the past few weeks, in the past, week and a half, 2 weeks, I guess, I've met with 6 people, a couple families and a couple, and, that just they're searching for the truth, or they can see, I was even asked to sit down with a Novus Ordo priest. They said, we want you to sit down with our priest and we want to see you two duke it out, And then they said, maybe we could get this priest and that priest. And I said, whoa, not the whole panel. I'll take one at a time, but not the whole panel. But then, interestingly, even their priests are even recognizing the problem.
Yeah.
That everyone can see there's a problem. You cannot ignore the problem. Now it's more a matter of what's the answer? What's the reality that we're looking at? What's the solution? How do we explain the situation? There's no doubt that there is a very dire situation. So how do you explain it is more the question now than does it exist? I think that's part of, and yeah, you just feel that kind of burgeoning thing, and
awesome. I love it, Father. So Father, what are there any other details people need to know? What do you need? Do you need the money by a certain time? Anything like that?
Well, yeah, we have, the sooner we can get our down payment secured, the better off we are. We have a certain closing period. We have a 30-day closing or a 30-day conditional. So like I said, we still have a few things up in the air. So I did just want to say any money that does come in, as it stated on the fundraiser, in the event that this particular building didn't go through, which we're praying does, it looks wonderful. That money would be used for the education, supporting education here in Ontario. So we made that clear just so people know, if this deal, because there's things that are beyond their control. but it would certainly be going towards supporting the sisters and or providing education. So it's going to be used for that purpose. That's one thing I did want to make clear. There's some other details there on the website. You'll see that Our Lady of Victory is the one who's running the fundraiser there. So that's our church, that's our parish here, and everything functions under the umbrella of that. And so we're hoping to get both the convent and the school, place for the sisters to live, place to operate their school, and all the other details that go along with that. And I foresee, I don't have any gift of prophecy, but just from the reaction we've had in a week to announcing this, I foresee a pretty rapid growth coming down. And there's some other indicators too that aren't public yet that, things are going to really grow here, hopefully. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Lots
and they
going
already
on.
have, Father. And they already have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And if
grow
anybody
more.
wants, exactly. Well, and if anyone wants to contact Father, I know not everyone's going to be comfortable using Give, Send, Go, or they don't know how, or et cetera, et cetera. Do you want to give your email, Father, or someone to contact you, or do you want them to contact me first to do that?
They could contact me through our website. That might be the best. I try to usually avoid posting my private email publicly, just so we don't get inundated with spam. But if ourladyofvictory.ca, ourladyofvictory.ca, and we can put that up, I'm sure, there too. That's our website. There's also a link to the fundraiser there. But if people were more comfortable, or if they had questions for me or just want to talk to me, whatever, they could go there, and there's a contact page as well as the church's phone number. They can just call me if they want. And right now I'm taking in I'll see the emails that come in via that way. I'll see them, and I'd be happy to answer questions, or if someone's in Canada, so it makes sense for them to donate a different way, or whatever it might be, or if they want to send their kids to the school.
So. Perfect.
Yeah.
No, that's great, Father. And I hope that I hope you'll come on again. We've had you on several times for different topics, and hopefully by next time, hopefully you'll have a school, and it'll all be, you'll be so busy that we're gonna get you for half a show or something next time, I suppose.
For sure, yeah. We'll walk around with my cell phone. See how busy I am.
Exactly. On the drive in, a little bit of it.
I'll call myself so that the other phone here rings. Man, we got things really going on here. It's a busy place.
It's good. It's good to be busy, Father. I really appreciate it. We wish the best for you and for your project here. We as my family will definitely pray for it, that it works out, because
thank you.
Again, we've seen how these things work, and it really is God's work. I mean, like, sincerely, it is God's work.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's one thing I'd say, I would ask for people's prayers. We got the parish here doing a novena together to the Infinite Prague, and you see so many details and so many unlikely things. You just think only God can make this work. If you want, if God or Lady will take care of it. But I would ask for everyone's prayers that it's a success. Especially the kids. Get your kids praying, the mothers and kids. And I think that's why things going so well. You see these young families, and they got the kids praying. They're teaching them to practice their faith. They're very pleasing to God, I think.
Perfect. Father, or anyone watching, if you want to help, again, go to the link that will be provided. Go to Father's website and like, share, and subscribe to the show, that more people can learn about it. More people can learn about the story in Canada, Father's story, and of course this new project that's going on to help educate the youth and to help build a better future, I suppose, because that's the only way we're going to do it, is through good Catholic education. Father Saunders, thank you so much. Until next time, God bless you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you so much for the invitation. God bless.